Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Only Run Very Noob, and of course I'm playing Bravo. It's the only hero I like. This is the only hero I'm going to play until they don't let me anymore. So today we're playing against Dash. Uh, the plan against Dash is to just be as aggressive as possible. With this new build, that's a little unfortunate, but we have to play Sink Below in this new list I've been trying. I'm taking out the sigils, taking out the staunch responses, taking out the fate for scenes, and taking out the one down and dirty. Maybe the one down and dirty could be in over like the third Sink Below, because I guess it's like an attack you can pummel maybe, but we're just gonna try the sinks. When they have a bunch of items out, you can like sink the pistol for full value. A lot of times you can sink like a attack that they throw at you, and it can also maybe like fix like a 3 red hand once in a while. Definitely wish I had something better to put in, but I don't. We see Skullcap, Tunic, and Ironhide legs. So right off the bat, we're already thinking this is sort of like the full control pistol build, which I believe is even worse for us than like a mid-range build that has a pistol plan. Not really the matchup we ever want to see. This hand's a little unfortunate. At first I pitched the Crippling Crush, but I think I undo and pitch the Sink Below to make a Surge, and then Arsenal the Crippling Crush. You definitely want to be resolving these Crippling Crushes in this matchup. They have a bunch of defense reactions, so like the chance that it actually crushes them is kind of low, but you got to do something. You got to be as aggressive as possible. There's like no way you can grind this deck out. They're just going to set up items and do a whole bunch to you in the end game that will grind your whole deck away, and they don't even have to use cards. They just get to like swing their weapon for 4 or 3 times. Of course, I'm just taking damage here to dominate a Crippling Crush. We had a Surge, so we get to make a Surge as well. We get a full block out of them because they have a Reinforced Lion and a Sink Below in Arsenal. Not great for us, but we're just going to keep doing what we can. They play a Sigil and pass. We're going to dominate the Crippling Crush, pitching the Starstruck and the 2 blues. Thanks to the Surge, we get to Arsenal like a Chokeslam. Chokeslam's not like the greatest threat against them, but it's something. And it's something we can pummel. It's something that we potentially could even play after like a Rouse the Ancients or a Zealous Belting or something for a couple extra points. Into Dash, you just want to be as aggressive as possible. There's no way that you can slow the game down and have a better end game than them. I Terra Sunder this Chokeslam, pitching our whole hand. There's potential we could have like made a Surge and just Terra Sundered the hammer, but I think 9 is a little bit more difficult of a breakpoint for them to stop than 7. If they have another Reinforce or Sink or Fate in Arsenal, 7 is fairly trivial for them to stop, where 9 would require armor or something like Red Unmovable in Arsenal. Again, just trying to put as many points on the board each turn cycle as I can. They end up only blocking 3, which is nice for us. So we get 6 damage and they discard 2. And we get the second Sink Below out of the way and actually got to use it for something. Here we draw Rouse the Ancients, but we don't draw the power to activate it, which is kind of annoying. So we kind of just got to throw the CNC. And maybe they think we have a pummel behind and like overblock it. They don't. They just block it, and we just end up arsenaling the Rouse. None of our attacks have over 6 power, but we have 3 attacks, so we can still rouse the Ancients if we want to take all the damage they throw at us, which generally I think is the plan. There's even a chance they get us under 29, where we get to rouse the Ancients and then like throw Fyendal's Fighting Spirit maybe? No, just throwing Hammer for 6 is better than 5 and gain a life. Never mind. And they are not doing anything. They just gain 3 life and then play a Plasma Purifier. And we will rouse the Ancients. Then make a Surge and Hammer, but I'm not sure if I even arsenal any of these cards. Like, all 3 of these cards are pretty bad in Arsenal. We could just like dominate. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think I'll make a Surge and then dominate a Blue Buckling Blow. Since I don't want it in Arsenal, and dominating it at least will leak a couple damage maybe, or force them to use something higher value like a defense reaction or armor. We do see them reinforce the line that. Just kind of want to take this 6 and then dominate the Spinal Crush. Thanks to the Surge, we can just pitch 2 blues to activate Bravo and play Spinal, and then Arsenal the Command and Conquer. And an Arsenal Command and Conquer is not bad because we can just sort of wait for a pummel to hopefully get like a defense reaction out of Arsenal. They just play an Unmovable on it, and we end up drawing the pummel here. He's already used 2 reinforced lines, so hopefully he can't reinforce. Hopefully he doesn't have his 3rd reinforced line in hand. Because he used the red Unmovable, we have to expect him to have something else that he wanted to put in Arsenal. So hopefully we get to destroy a defense reaction here. Yep, we get to destroy a Fate Foreseen, which is quite nice. And then I do Arsenal the Thunderquake because 8 is more than 6, so off 2 blues we could just throw the Thunderquake instead of Hammer. And it'll be kind of reasonable. I want to dominate this Crippling Crush, but I can't with this hand, and our Arsenal's used up. So I think I just take whatever damage he throws at me, and then because of the Surge, the Thunderquake only costs 5. So we can dominate the Thunderquake, pitching 2 blues and the Chokeslam, and then Arsenal the Crippling Crush. And 8 dominates, like, it's not wonderful, but it clears out our Arsenal for the Crippling Crush, and it auto-leaks some damage. Block 3, and then Springboard Somersault from Arsenal. They got all the reacts. That's why this is such a nightmare. We just can't really get crush effects through on this sort of build. And with this hand, we can't easily dominate the Crippling Crush. We don't have a Surge, so we'd have to pitch all 4 cards to dominate it, and I don't think I want to do that. I think what I would rather do is block 3, probably with Starstruck, just so we can make a Surge next turn. Because the plan next turn is to Zealous Belting into Hammer. And we could block with Cranial Crush and keep like a Starstruck in our deck for later in case, you know, we need it. But then we don't have a Surge. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we don't really need a Surge for the Crippling Crush. And having a Starstruck in the deck for later might be like reasonable. Um, because we don't have that many yellows, so the Surge would allow us to dominate Crippling Crush off a yellow and 2 blues, but we already drew 2 of our 3 yellows, so the Surge might not be as important. But we're really hoping to not even get to pitch stack. We're just kind of hoping to catch them without a defense reaction in Arsenal and then just like sort of go ham. Because we want these games to be as short as possible. We sneak some damage in, but he wants to keep his hand. We draw a hand that can dominate Crippling Crush and then Arsenal Zealous Belting, which I think is good. Especially since he plays an item and doesn't allow us to use any of our cards on defense. Yeah, I think we just got to dominate the Crippling and hope that eventually he runs out of defense reactions. That's our last Crippling Crush, though. Of course he has one. They play like infinite of them. It's a little frustrating, but you just got to do what you can manage to do. Here we draw a Sink Below, and it's actually going to get full value because they have double Purifier. It's a little nice. Seeing as how we want to block with one of our cards anyway, we get to block for 4 instead of 3. Because we just want a Zealous Belting into Hammer. Then just take 4. I always just save my armor until like the last second because they break the chain by reloading their pistol, so you don't really need to be too wary of like blocking with armor and having them kill you that same combat chain because they just break the chain with each of their attacks. Especially in this build, they're not really boosting. They don't really have cards they want to boost, and they have a ton of misses. So I would say like 95% of their damage comes from pistol. Maybe even like 98% of their damage comes from pistol, with the other 2 to 5% being like random Command and Conquers or Fyendal Fighting Spirit or something. So they're going to attack us for 4 and then 4 here. Zealous Belting and Arsenal. I believe I've only pummeled them once, so Arsenaling Command and Conquer for the other pummel could be good. But then Arsenaling Terra Sunder as a threat could also be solid. I don't think he's going to pitch this last card, so he's not going to have an Arsenal. Maybe we just block with Command and Conquer and send Terra Sunder for 7 on the hammer, keeping our Zealous Belting. Because he doesn't have an Arsenal, it's going to be a lot harder for him to stop that Dominate, maybe. I think that's a fine plan. If he was going to have an Arsenal, we could Zealous Belting into Command and Conquer, Arsenaling to Terra Sunder, and just taking this 8 damage. But because we're not going to use our Zealous Belting, we can just block with our Command and Conquer. Since we have a way to dominate an on-hit effect here in the Terra Sunder, with him not having an Arsenal, we want to take that shot. I'm not like in love with my spot, but I don't absolutely hate it. It's also kind of nice we get to go lower life than him, so he can't use his skull cap. Because there would have been an option for him to like use skull cap and ironhide legs plus a 4 block to stop this, and now he would have to like give us tunic and legs in a 4 drop. He just immediately passes. He drew his third red unmovable, which is a little unfortunate, but you got to get him out of the deck somehow. And I think him having no arsenal is like the ideal spot to try to dominate. He just plays an item and passes, and we draw a rouse hand. We can't rouse, Zealous Belting, and hammer. That would cost 8. So I think we just rouse and hammer and like pitch the Spinal Crush away. It's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. We still get to have a Rouse the Ancients turn, which presumably will take his entire hand. No, now he's going to have 1 card left, 1 blue, which will still allow him to attack for 8. Unless one of his cards is an item in hand that doesn't block. He just takes 3 here. We immediately draw another Rouse hand, and this one does have a yellow. So we could Rouse, Zealous Belting, and Hammer. That costs 8, which would be the 2 disables in the Starstruck. He doesn't get any value off of his Heart of Fiendel, which is also nice because we're at lower life. And he also doesn't have an arsenal here. So because he doesn't have an arsenal here, he's already used all 3 of his unmovables. I think I want to dominate Starstruck. Dominate Starstruck is going to get 7 damage through. There's a chance he draws like a Sink Below or Favor Scene. I can't click on his graveyard right here, but I think he's used like most of them, but could still have some of them left. It's turn 15, so he's seen his whole deck basically. We still have 9 life in our armor, right? 1, 4, 7, 8, 9, yeah. And if we dominate a Starstruck and it does crush, he just can't attack us at all. Or if we rouse Zealous Belting Hammer, that's like 18 damage. But then it also uses our Zealous Belting, where if we dominate the Starstruck, we still have a Zealous Belting. And we might get like a free turn cycle where he just can't attack us. We have to assume that he has another item, like a second induction chamber or something in his deck. I don't believe we've seen him pitch it. So he's probably going to end up playing it here on turn 15. It must have been one of the last cards in his deck. Yep. This hand's a little unfortunate. We can Zealous Belting and then Hammer and then Arsenal either Spinal Crush or Pummel. I'd probably be inclined to Arsenal Pummel. Yeah. Probably just Zealous Belting and then swing Hammer, pitching Sink Below and Spinal Crush, and then Arsenal the Pummel. He ends up blocking with Tunic here. I guess he doesn't think the game's going to go 3 more turns for him to get any value out of that. And it looks like he might be coming in for 12 damage keeping 2 cards or even keeping 3 cards here, which is plenty of resources for him to like load up his items and shoot a bunch. We have a Starstruck and a Pummel, so we could pummel this Starstruck if he can't kill us through our armor, which I think is the plan. Because if we get to pummel the Starstruck, he just won't get a turn and we might be able to steal this game away. And 12, we can block 9, only taking 3. The only thing that could really hurt this, because he has 2 floating, so the only thing that could really hurt us here is if he has like Command and Conquer. Maybe I end up just taking 4 here, down to 2, and then when he swings again for 4, I can block with the 3 armor that's not Crown and keep Crown up for some reason. Maybe it'll like fix a hand or dig me a little deeper to another threat. I'm not entirely sure what my pitch stack is. I don't think it's very good or very aggressive, of course, because the first time you see your aggressive tools, you just want to use them immediately and try to steal the game away. This control dash can be very difficult. But we've actually navigated to a spot that's not like completely awful here. And because we're at 1, he's not going to ever get that 1 value from his skull cap, which is also kind of nice. Only blocks 9, so even if he has like a react here, oh yeah, he's got those remembrances. We've seen him pitching. So he's going to go to 1, and we're going to get a full 4-card hand to try to end this game. And we draw a blue 8, so we're going to dominate Cranial Crush and hope it's good enough. Because if it's not, we almost certainly lose. Oh, yeah. Barely crossed the finish line in this one. Definitely a very hard matchup. I think we might have got a little fortunate in that game. We arsenaled a Command and Conquer pretty early on and then immediately drew a Pummel that got to kill a Fate Foreseen. I think if he would have been able to play that Fate Foreseen, we wanted to won this game. Like, if he would have gotten value out of that Fate Foreseen in a different spot, I don't think we would have won. We got to use one of our sync blows to block a pistol for 4, which might have been slightly impactful. We still had 2 armor at the end there. So even though we were at 1 life, it's not like if that was a 3 block we would have died because we would have just like used armor on the second to last turn of the game. Definitely a very hard matchup, and you kind of just have to keep smashing and hope that they get a little unfortunate with their draws. But even as you saw this game, I feel like they got pretty fortunate with how their defense reactions were spaced out in their deck, and we still managed to sneak a win. Pummeling that Starstruck at the end, like having enough life buffer and armor to keep a 5-card hand to pummel a Starstruck at the end was like very good. So I think that's something I got to keep in mind. Early on, I could have not made a Surge, and I could have pitched a Starstruck to have a Zealous Belting turn. And I think in the future, I probably will just pitch the Starstruck because we did get to second cycle. We got to like the first 3 hands of second cycle, and the Starstruck was very good there. So hopefully this was a fun game. Hopefully we learned a little bit. Not a fun matchup, a scary matchup, but as you can see, if you just stick to the plan and try to be efficient with your aggression, you can definitely win the matchup. So, yeah. Keep swinging that hammer out there. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll have another video tomorrow for everyone. Maybe we'll do something a little bit more fun tomorrow instead of just like a gameplay analysis. I'm not 100% sure. But I got some things cooking that I'm going to bring to you guys. So thanks for stopping by again. I hope you have a good one.